It's time to get your party hats ready. That's right. If I had a kazoo, I'd be blowing on it right now. Pop the champagne and bring them in. That's right. It's time for a Jardy Party. Andy Jardy from the shores of Lake Erie joining us here tonight. What's going on, pal?
If we're putting party hats on, I'd just like to put on my Guardians hat here with that impressive 3-1 win over the Dodgers just moments ago. Playing our best baseball here going into the postseason. You love to see it.
Hey, that's what it's all about, man. The Tribe's starting to get it rocking and rolling right now. That was a big one. I saw they were a huge underdog tonight, so wear that hat proudly, sir. And some other teams doing some winning and, well, also some losing around the area. Just got your notes. Fill us in on some notable things that are going down around the Buckeye State.
Yeah, so there were some notable things, as always, that happened around the Ohio area tonight for high school football. We'll start things off. Marion Locals head coach Tim Goodwin, kudos to you, sir, picked up win number 312, which ties him for 8th most in Ohio high school football history. That is impressive, too, because the high school schedule is not very long, and you have to make deep postseason runs for this to really happen. So kudos to Coach Goodwin there, tying 8th most wins in Ohio high school football history. On the flip side of history here, Mansfield Senior now, Brian. I'm sure you talked about this earlier. I just got home a few moments ago, but 0-3 now. For the first time in 20 years, they got shellacked tonight, 60-0 by Villa Angela St. Joseph, which they've played a tough schedule, don't get me wrong, but it's, as they get in the conference play now, we'll see how they go the rest of the year. Hopefully this tough non-conference schedule, gets them going here as they get into conference play. How about which of these 3-0 teams are you most surprised by here, Brian? Ashland, Gallion, or Monroeville? And there's Travis. Hi, Travis.
For me, I've been informed by Joshua Banks before the season that Gallion was going to be really good. Ashland was my pick to win the OCC, so I'll probably eliminate those two and just say that Monroeville getting off to this great start probably didn't see it coming. But, hey, sometimes fly, Eagles fly, and that's what they've been doing right to the top of the Firelands Conference. So a little bit of a shocker for me.
Yeah. I would agree with that as well. I didn't make a dark horse pick team this year or anything like that, but Gallion is just a team I've kind of had my eyes on for whatever reason here to start the season, and they've been impressive at 3-0. And Ashland's kind of just quietly going about their business too and taking care of it as well. One of the things I saw going on here too, this was like the game of potentially the season up here in the Cleveland area. Battle of two defending state champs, which I believe now this is the 32nd time that's ever happened in OHSAA history. Kirtland beat Perry 22-21 in triple overtime. I saw some highlights of this on Twitter. It looked incredible. A touchdown and 2-point conversion to win it there in triple overtime. What a game between two teams coming off state titles. That's just a really cool matchup for those two teams to have. And what a
Those
finish.
are some heavyweights, baby. Anytime that you come in wearing the crown, and especially those two programs, Kirtland specifically, and then to have the Coconuts to go for 2 in the win, Andy, that's pretty big time by Coach Tiger right there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, just a lot of buzz about that game, obviously, up here in the Cleveland area, too. And Kirtland, Kirtland was just down at Crestview last week? Is that correct?
Last Thursday, the game of the night for CBS.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, just a great matchup between those two teams. A lot of people saying, craziest game they've ever been to. And then a shout-out to my alma mater, the Northwood Rangers, get in the win column tonight with a win over Lakota, 30-17. Rangadanga, let's go.
Love it, man. I don't know what that means, but I like the saying. It just seems to work.
It's Ranger Danger. You just shorten it, Rangadanga. I don't know. No one ever really said it, but I did.
All right, so those are the notable performances, and I saw, my graphics gang, they got way too excited when they saw the Andy's Dandy, so we kind of jumped the gun on that. But there were some there were some big performances to go down. So bring the graphic back up, and let's jump inside of Andy's Dandies. Here we go.
Absolutely. So starting off the game I was at, Mount Gilead's Tyler Haar. You saw it in the highlight that Jonathan had for you. The scoop and score really put the game away for Mount Gilead. The sophomore, one of the smallest guys on the field at 5'8", 145, gets into the pile, comes away with it, gets the big touchdown for Mount Gilead as they are now 2-1 and looking to make some noise in the KMAC. Watch out because they've got the size up front to go up with just about anybody. We'll see if they can get some more consistent play offensively. And my God, no more penalties. Please, Mount Gilead, no more penalties. Speaking of the Mansfield Senior game, Villa Angela St. Joseph, Bo Jackson, who is an Ohio State commit, by the way, had 9 carries, 109 yards rushing, and 3 touchdowns in their 60-0 win at Mansfield Senior. So get used to seeing him in some scarlet and gray in the not-too-distant future, too. Should be a lot of fun to watch him wear the Ohio State uniform. Lima Seniors, Janaeus Hall, 6 total touchdowns in a win over Marion Harding tonight. And then Ontario's Mason Vandenberg had 4 total touchdowns in a win over Madison. So those are my Andes dandies for you here in week 3.
Good Lord, that's a lot of touchdowns. 10 between 2 guys combined, but how about a 6-pack for the dude from Lima Senior? My color commentator tonight, he's teaching over there this year. I asked about how the crop was this season, and he was like, pretty good. I'm doing my best Sean Adams impression here, and he didn't tell me, though, they got a dude that could go for 6 touchdowns. That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you do that. That's impressive, and he found a way to do it, so big win for Lima Senior tonight.
That's my whole
Someone else
varsity
actually
career
scored
of
a touchdown because they had 49 points. So I don't know who stole the 7th touchdown from him, but someone did.
Sometimes you just got to share the spotlight, though. Okay, I think tasting taters that many times, your belly's full. Okay, let's move on. Enough.
Absolutely.
All right, and how about us? Let's move on here now, Andy. And we did have one conference game actually go down tonight in the OCC. So let's begin there. We'll take a look at the standings. And the Ashland Arrows, a 3-0 team, as you mentioned, but they have not played anybody yet within the league. Travis, and you've got on the Arrows helmet. Who did play in the OCC tonight?
Well, Ryan, we had a victory. New Philadelphia played Worcester tonight and knocked them off. The final score of that one, as I pull up our scoreboard, wherever it is, 28-7 in favor of New Philly, the only conference game in North Central Ohio tonight. So the Quakers, despite having one overall loss, the only first-place team in the OCC. Ashland 3-0, they knocked off the Lindsley Cadets out of West Virginia, blanked them tonight, 28-0. 35-0 actually, but Ashland looking very impressive, but they're not on top just yet, Mr. Skronsky.
In this league, wow. Look at the bottom feeders. 3 of them. We anticipated this, I think, from Madison, but Mansfield Senior and Lexington?
Yeesh.
Not off the schneid yet. This is pretty shocking, Andy.
Yeah, this is crazy to look at. The bottom. I mean, West Holmes now too at 1-2, and Worcester 1-2. It is New Philadelphia. I mean, what a nice transition they have made into this conference, and maybe it's all about the timing. But they've come in and have found themselves, I feel like, in a position to contend for it already after making the switch not too many seasons ago. So there they are sitting alone at the top, and I mean, I would think Ashland is the team to beat right now out of this. We'll see if all of the tough scheduling Mansfield Senior put together gets them going and ready for the OCC. But this has been a disastrous start for the conference. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that you can count out the Tigers. Lexington, I got to see them with my own eyes tonight. I have a hard time seeing them going against some of those other bigger schools within the league, like a Mansfield or a New Philly, and walking away with a victory in Ashland as well. So that's going to be an interesting conference to keep an eye on, but I can't really forecast too many teams from there doing anything in the playoffs, Travis. It's still early. There's a lot to be learned about these teams. You can still figure some things out, but right now, 0-3 teams seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of baffling because Lexington, we thought maybe they'd be one of those dark horse teams in there, and no, they're dropped 3 and a big head scratcher tonight against Clear Fork. Mansfield Senior, their schedule really tough, 3 tough teams. Chokey Bradley, he'll play on the moon against anybody if he wanted to. And it's just 3 tough losses there, so you never know. Maybe they bounce back a little bit, but it's your boys at Ashland. And as you can see, New Philadelphia, they lost a close one, 6 points to Steubenville, that team that's always a perennial power in the whole state of Ohio. So it may come down to the Arrows and New Philly. West Holmes, not impressive. Worcester, really down this year as well. So it might be a two-horse race already, 3 weeks in, and with only 1 conference game total played.
And I'm going to own them. I'm going to call them my Ashland Arrows all year. I could see this team potentially maybe even like 9 wins on the season. Who knows? They might run the table. But since we got K-Mac Trav here with us chiming in, Andy, how about let's take a look at the K-Mac and see that there's just one team with a goose egg still next to their name, and that is a Northmore Golden Knights. Well, or look at the bottom and look at Loudonville in the opposite column. And then there's a whole cluster of teams. We just talked about this. We kind of did a K-Mac segment in the last one. We saw Centerburg, and they got a nice big win. Now Gilead as well. So this is going to be a very interesting league over the next few weeks because we find out a lot. A couple of these good teams, if you will, they're going to play each other here in weeks 4 and 5, and we'll start seeing kind of that golden brick road or whatever, like forming towards the championship pretty immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's Northmore's to lose at this stage of where we're at in the schedule with just how dominant their wins have been. We're going to find out a lot, too, here about Mount Gilead because their next 3 games, I believe, are on the road. So they will be tested here right out of the chute in conference play. I liked what I saw from them tonight, especially defensively. I liked what I saw from them. If they can find any sort of success through the air, it just adds a whole nother wrinkle to their offense because obviously they can get it done on the ground. They have multiple guys in the backfield that they can hand it off to. And Fricky did a great job faking us out, calling the game as to who actually had the ball when he would hand it off or keep it. So he connected on a throw for 54 yards to start the game off, and then he didn't really need to throw the ball the rest of the game. But if he can get some confidence throwing, it just adds another element to their offense, and I think Mount Gilead can make some noise here in the K-Mac. But like I said, we'll find out a lot about them here these next 3 weeks.
Don't count out Danville, though. Honestly, don't. I mean,
yeah.
You know me, Mr. Northmore, K-Mac, Trav, K-Mac at the Castle, everything like that. But Danville, 2 very impressive wins, and then they go to Hopewell Loudon and lose by, 4 points to them. I mean, they battle-tested first. Northmore, I mean, they're putting up 45 points a game, but look at who they're playing. I'm not dissing those 3 teams that they played, but, Upper Sandusky, they do have a win over Mount Gilead, but they've dropped a couple tough ones. South Central is just way down this year. They'll probably be fighting for a couple wins in the Firelands Conference. And then Mapleton tonight as well they was just overmatched just running the wing T because they couldn't throw the ball themselves. So I think, Danville showed that they are still at the top of the K-Mac. They are still the champs until somebody in conference beats them, and that's what makes that Week 5 matchup so important. Northmore wants that. It's at home. It's a team that's knocked them off the last couple of years and really hurt their chances at the conference championship. So that could be the game in the K-Mac in 2 weeks' time. And Northmore, they play Centerburg next week and then Danville, and then they got Mount Gilead after that. So they get the tops in the K-Mac right now, and that's going to show you how good Northmore is. And if they can win those 4, they're probably going to clinch the K-Mac outright. But then you got to talk about, are they one of those favorites in a region as well as another 3-0 team that we have in Colonel Crawford?
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. No, I got nothing to add here. This is your party, Jardy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, too, it'll be interesting if next week is in any way a trap week for Danville or Northmore as they get prepared for that matchup in Week 5. Mount Gilead will travel to Danville next week, so can't overlook the Indians and what they've done. We'll see how Danville and Northmore respond to potentially looking ahead, but I don't think either team will, but that is something to maybe keep an eye on next week.
All right, let's jump into the Northern 10 now, and we'll show you that the Eagles, they certainly look like the cream of the crop, but I feel like this is the exact same conversation that we were just having with the K-Mac, where don't count out those Blue Devils because until you knock off the beasts, you're still just looking up at the top of the mountain, and that is the Cary Blue Devils, even though right now in danger of starting 0-3, and Zach Truax, he presented the question, and I'd love to know the answer. When was the last time this program has been 0-3? It's probably been a few generations ago. They've been so dominant, so good, but that's what the Eagles have been so far through 3 weeks. Clearly the favorite right now to win this championship.
Yeah, it's, until someone does it, you can't count them out, but Colonel Crawford has just looked so good to start the year right now, too. We'll see if Cary can get it figured out. But yeah, you look around the rest of the league. Good to see some teams get some wins here tonight. Winford getting a nice win over Western Reserve to get into the win column there. So I think it's Colonel Crawford's to lose, but yeah, we'll see if Cary gets things figured out.
Yeah, an unexpected win for the Royals, and Seneca East disappointing me. I seen them on opening night. I was singing their praises from the mountaintops. I thought that they were really going to be a contender. All they've done is drop 2 in a row, and I hope that the Tigers can get this thing turned around because they had some talent. I like the pieces to the puzzle out there. They're just not fitting right now. And Colonel Crawford and Mohawk, they're going to be playing next week. So we're going to find out about those two teams right away, a la like we're seeing with Northmore, where they're going to get tested out of the gates with some of the top dogs and the contenders within that league right there in the Northern 10. So as things start shaking out, even before week 5 and 6, we're probably going to have a little bit better idea of what's going on in those leagues. The Firelands Conference, the 1-3-0 team that you asked me, was I impressed or surprised? Yeah, the Eagles fly into the top of the league. Western Reserve, they get their first defeat tonight. No one really saw that coming, I don't think, outside of probably the dudes inside of Winford's locker room. Outside of that, boys, this is a pretty rough league, I think, this year. Mapleton's got some talent. I feel like Crestview does too. But maybe not as good as a couple of these other teams that are up floating near the top.
It's Mapleton. I mean, it's Monroeville's to lose. And you were talking about, Andy asked you the question about the one of the 3 that surprised you. It should be Monroeville. Started out Lakota, who's 1-2. They beat them 45-13. Then they went to Calvert, to Frost Cownell Stadium, and beat them 23-9. And then they went and beat Seneca East 36-13. So that Seneca East 1-2 start, Seneca East has played good opponents. And it might show that Monroeville is the real deal this year, and this might be their year that they finally get that conference championship, especially with the St. Paul squad that plays tomorrow. You'll see it live and free on the OH Report against Calvert, where their top 2 running backs got hurt in week 1. Don't know if they'll be back. And then their starting quarterback last week in the second quarter got hurt and had a crutch. Didn't even come back out for the second half. So this may be the year for one of these other squads other than Crestview or St. Paul to jump on that Firelands Conference Championship.
Well, and while the Eagles are on top, though, Andy, and Travis says they are clearly the team to beat, how can you not feel like Crestview and or St. Paul is going to get back involved here in the conference race by the end of this thing? That's where they've been, and I can't picture them not being right there when weeks 9 and 10 arrive.
Yeah, I'll have more of an opinion about that actually now later today when I do the St. Paul game because, yeah, I have not seen them in person. I caught a little bit of the game that we had that Travis, you did. Was that week 1, week 2?
Last week.
And they really struggled. Last week? Okay. Yeah, they really struggled. It's been a rough go for the Firelands Conference. We've really seen that from a couple conferences in our area. It just has not – I feel like we're seeing a lot more teams struggle this year as opposed to previous seasons. And maybe it's just all cyclical, and some of these teams that have struggled are starting to move up while the others come down. But yeah, it's been a rough go for the Firelands Conference.
And that is why we have saved the best for last, unquestionably, the MOAC, where we've got 3 powerhouse teams right now. And I truly feel like the middle of the pack, too, very competitive. So the Warriors, the defending league champs, along with Shelby, and then the Galleon Tigers, they've really impressed so far. 3 wins over Northern 10 teams. And then the Vikings and the Spartans and the Presidents. All pretty good, oh my. And Clear Fork, too, I like what I saw from them. They were without some of their key pieces early on in the season against some big-time opponents. Looked great tonight against Lexington. So this is going to be just a very, very exciting race starting next week.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the only conference in our area where every team has at least 1 win? I could be wrong on that, but
I think you are right. Loudonville is the lone in the KMAC. A couple in the. Yeah.
I think every other conference. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been top to bottom the best league in the area, and those top three, I cannot wait to see who comes away with it. I think we talked about this last week. It feels like it's going to be a sharing of the pie at the end of the season because I feel like they're going to round robin each other and just like all tie at the end. So yeah, this is going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to see it play out throughout the rest of the season.
Question for both of you guys: over under 1.5 losses in conference will win the conference.
Oh,
You go.
I'm gonna lean under because I do think whoever does get 2 losses is gonna come up short. So I'm gonna take the under. Yeah, I'm going under.
I think. Oh, geez, yeah, this is a tough one. I'm probably going to take the under as well, and I might have just talked myself out of maybe like a sharing of it. With,
I was
with
going to say,
this
if you
answer
said
right here.
over, I think 2 or 3 teams could share with 2 losses. But right now, I don't know. Now, Bellevue might be a little bit down, but the way Shelby handled Bellevue,
Yeah.
especially with the pass that they had against Bellevue, just for them to just roll over them, the question marks we had about Shelby, the few question marks, I think they've been answered. I think Shelby, once again, can be at the top, but then you have Ontario, who Van Tilburg's really showing out. Bogpen Miller's playing both ways now. And then those pesky little Galleon Tigers, they're doing their thing as well. Then you're going to have, you're going to have somebody like a River Valley, Pleasant, or Harding just spoil somebody's, even multiple team seasons. That's why, like you said, you're saving the best for last. But I could see a couple teams, maybe 3 teams, even with 2 losses, share a conference championship out of this.
And I feel like the best games in the league are at the end of the year. When you look at Shelby at Clear Fork on October 11th, Pleasant's at Galleon that week. You get Harding at Ontario that week, and then you jump to week 9, and that is when Ontario goes over to Shelby this year. Pleasant's at Harding, Galleon's at River Valley, and then week 10, Shelby at Pleasant probably is going to determine the league. And then
playoffs
Galleon,
start in what, week 7? For these MOAC teams, if they want to play for conference championship as well, that makes these teams battle tested for the playoffs. Any of these teams, the top, I think 4 or 5, they get into the playoffs, they're already tested with what they played for. Look out, we might see a couple lower seeds in those regions get upsets just because of how they played in their conference.
Travis, going back to your over/under question, I'm leaning under because I don't think any of those top 3 teams lose to anyone other than the.
You don't think a spoiler comes
I think
in?
all 3 of those teams. Yeah, I don't think it's there. I just don't see it, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. We'll see. This is why it's the fastest 10 weeks because you just get so excited for like each week to play out.
We're already a third of the way through the season.
It's wild. It's
right?
Crazy.
Yeah, there's going to be a crazy league to keep an eye on, and definitely looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out. But people are going to share a piece of this pie. I think Andy's right. Probably towards the end of the year, there's going to be a few teams that just have either 0 or 1 loss, and then it'll all kind of distribute its way out as they play each other. Well, Andy, you got a game coming up here tonight. Travis, gosh, you got volleyball here in just a few hours, so
yeah,
we
I should
probably,
be going down there right
throw
now.
a bow on this thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's end this baby. Shoot. I had a good time. Great. Yeah. Hey, bravo. My last words are going to go out to Clear Fork winning at home tonight. I know that Coach Balka and that group, they've been working really, really hard and talking to, matter of fact, everybody that I spoke to, either in the press box or walking up into the field tonight was like, this is going to be a tough one for Clear Fork. Boy, going to be doomed for 0-3 again, and they showed out. Really impressed with Clear Fork. Travis, your last word?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Andy. Nope, go for it, Andy.
I was just going to jump in.
This is your party again, Andy. Come on, you're the host.
That Lexington Clear Fork game is just always strange. It's always a weird game. I did 2 back-to-back a couple years ago. I was talking about this on the broadcast tonight. I know Effie and I did the one game, but I can't remember who won, but someone jumped out to like a 21-0 lead or a 28-0 lead and ended up losing. So when I saw that score tonight, I was like, you know what? That game just always surprises me. So hats off to Clear Fork, though, for getting the job done.
Me? Everything's as expected right now. I think we've seen some surprises, but I just love the fact that we're back, and actually not back now. It's week 3. KMAC is looking great. We got some good teams. Looking like Northmore Danville, the Northern 10, Cary, Crawford, and both last year's champions go to the second place team this year. So you never know. They're going to have to earn it the hard way if they want to repeat once again. But hey, I think one team out of some of these conferences might, with 1 or no wins through the first 3 weeks, will compete for a title in the last couple of weeks. That's my hot take right there. But also, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Calvert at St. Paul. Well, yeah, tonight. What day is it? What time? I don't know anymore. But yeah, tonight, Calvert, St. Paul, Mr. Jardy, Josh Banks on the call up there.
Let's go.
No,
Ryan?
you can't go yet. You got to wait 7 p.m. kickoff. I'd get a little bit of shut-eye, Andy. But it's always fun partying with you here late night on the Pigskin, man. So thanks for jumping on board. Week 3 in the books. Appreciate all the fans out there watching live and free here tonight. But we're going to close out the show. We'll see you right back here. Same bat time, bat channel, all that stuff for a Week 4 conference edition of the Pigskin. So long, you guys.